Hello and welcome to South First. I'm Anusha Ravi Sood and you're watching State of Play, our daily roundup of all things politics, policy, and human interest. The next time you step out to buy a smartphone in India, you might end up with or without your consent mandatorily seeing an app the government of India wants to install in all our smartphones. For those phones that are already in the market, the government wants this installed by way of software update. And for phones that are being manufactured in India, directives have been sent to the manufacturers, in fact, even to importers who want to import phones that are manufactured outside the country but sold here, to mandatorily install this app called the Sanchar Saathi. The government's push to make this app mandatory in all smartphones has definitely now raised concerns of privacy, data security. Also, critics raising questions on whether this is a new means of spying and tracking citizens. Why are all these concerns being raised? Well, I will explain in this episode. But first, what has the government of India told phone manufacturers and importers? In an order sent by the DOT, the Union Government of India's department to phone manufacturers and importers, the government has cited cybersecurity as a reason to mandatorily implement its app called Sanchar Saathi. Let's remember the union government did not announce it to the citizens first, neither did the Modi government hold consultation with stakeholders, but instead they sent a directive to phone manufacturers and importers insisting that a DOT run security app Sanchar Saathi should be pre-installed in all new smartphones and its installation should be pushed in the form of software updates for phones that are already in the market. Now the government insists that this will help users block stolen phones, curb cyber fraud linked to duplicate IMEI numbers. This directive that was issued also set a 90-day window within which phone manufacturers, importers should have complied with this demand of the government, that is, pre installing this particular app, the Sanchar Saathi. Now, this secret or private directive to companies was reported by the media, specifically Reuters, after which several media houses picked it up, and the government, out of a lack of choice, had to issue an official statement on why it did what it did. Here is what the government said. It insisted that this was a means of protecting citizens from cyber frauds. Well, till then, it sounds all good. But here is where the issue begins. One, a user's consent or a buyer's consent is not required since this app is pre-installed. Now, this app, as the directive to the phone manufacturers goes, the government has insisted that the app's functionalities should not be restricted or disabled. And the app has the permission to run immediately as soon as the device is switched on, device is running, or in the case of a software update, the moment an update is made to the device, which means without my consent, an app has been pre-installed on a phone that I bought, or without my consent, manufacturers and importers, device makers have been asked to encode this app and make it a mandatory update on my existing phone. And now, the minister in charge, Jyotiraditya Scindia, after much hullabaloo, after much concerns were raised about security, privacy, and personal sensitive data being at risk, has now insisted that this app is optional. Citizens can delete the app if need be. But the question is, should the choice not be given to me about whether I want to download rather an app on my computer, on my device, on my phone? The app can be deemed optional only if I consent and I have the option of downloading it when I want to, not when the government has decided that it will set directives to phone manufacturing companies to pre-install an app. Notwithstanding the fact that the minister's statement on Tuesday contradicts what directives were given by the government to phone manufacturing companies a day earlier, the fact remains that consent and choice have been taken away from users. Now, what is the concern? So what? There are so many apps. There is WhatsApp, there is Telegram, there is mass messaging apps. There are so many gaming apps that also require information. But before I get into that, let me just tell you what users have flagged or what citizens concerned about privacy and data have flagged about the permissions that this app takes from your phone. Considering that it cannot be restricted, unlike other apps where I can choose to share a set of information, choose to share or not share a set of information, this app according to the directives by the government to the manufacturing and importing agents of phones, insist that the features cannot be disabled or restricted. So the kind of information that this app can access on your phone: it can read your text messages, SMS or MMS. It can send SMS from your phone, read call log. It can read phone status and identity, read contents of your USB storage. Not just that, this app can modify or delete the contents of your USB storage on your phone. It can take pictures and videos. It can read phone status and identity, view network connections, control flashlight. It's a low risk. That particular point is a low risk component, but problematically, full network access is something that this app can have on your phone or do on your phone. It can run at startup. This is the concern of why this pre-installed app could be problematic, because it runs right at the start. Control vibration, it can also prevent device from sleeping, which means, other than draining your battery, of course, data collection can be happening at the background at any point in time. You cannot put this app to sleep like other apps. Last but not the least, Google license check. Naturally. Now, one may ask, there are so many apps on your phones that pretty much seek the same set of information. But the difference here is choice. Several of these apps on your phone, you can choose to restrict, you can choose what information you want to share with it, do not want to share with it. But in this scenario, this is an all or nothing app. Now that the minister is insisting that people can uninstall it, the question then is, why not give people the option of installing it if they want it, instead of pre-installing this app in a new phone or in a smartphone, or pushing it through software updates? The Internet Freedom Foundation points to one particular clause, clause 7B, and it says 7B is the clearest expression of how this particular move, with the stated objective of curbing IMEI fraud and improving telecom security, is, on the face of it, a legitimate state aim, but the chosen means are disproportionate, legally fragile, and structurally hostile to user privacy and autonomy. The Internet Freedom Foundation says, in plain terms, this converts every smartphone sold in India into a vessel for state mandated software that the user cannot meaningfully refuse, control, or remove. For this to work in practice, the app will almost certainly need system level or root level access, similar to carrier or OEM system apps, so that it cannot be disabled. The design choice erodes the protections that normally prevent one app from peering into the data of others, and turns Sanchar Saathi into a permanent, non-consensual point of access sitting inside the operating system of every Indian smartphone user. This is extremely concerning. In simple terms, if you have been following about concerns of using spyware like Pegasus on opposition leaders or journalists in India, this Sanchar Saathi app, in its actual point intent of making it pre-installed in every smartphone and then as an afterthought giving people the option of uninstalling it, concerns are still raised on whether you can actually uninstall this app, given the nature of demands the government is placing before the manufacturers. That aside, given the history that we have seen of allegations of using spyware on political opponents and journalists, this app, and making it mandatory in smartphones of every single Indian, pretty much seems like an easier, cheaper, everyday means of tracking, surveilling citizens, and that in a democracy is extremely problematic. Of course, privacy, data breach is all a first world problem in India, where we are still struggling to lift our fellow citizens from acute poverty in a country where a huge section of the population is dependent on the free grains scheme of the government, because they're simply not able to afford food to keep themselves alive, in a country where inflation is hitting crores of people on a daily basis, in a country where corruption is pretty much come to be a part of our life. There are so many issues that we need to focus on, that privacy looks like a distant concern. Privacy looks like problem of the elites. There's no doubt, but that doesn't mean citizens of this country do not have the right to their privacy, do not have the right to insist that their data that they are sharing willfully with some players, private or government, should not be protected. Now, a lot of people have raised concerns about, you know what, you're all smartphone users, everybody has their location switched on, everybody knows. It's very easy to track anybody with a smartphone in India today. All of you have apps that seeks the same set of information. What is the problem? The problem is that time and again, one other than making it mandatory, time and again, the Indian government in the last decade and a half has shown that it has simply been incapable of protecting people's data. There have been multiple data breaches, there have been multiple instances of private and sensitive data being leaked. From Aadhaar data that has been multiple times leaked, some 815 million records of Aadhaar data have been leaked at several instances. There have been compromises of government's Co-win portal, which had information of vaccinations during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Arogya Setu app, which was pushed during the pandemic, was also compromised. There were instances, cybersecurity experts pointing to how there were gaps in this app that could compromise data for millions of Indians. Amid all of these things, there is very little to trust the government when it comes to not just collecting data and using it for the right thing, but also to protect the data that has been collected by common citizens. And data, whether you like it or not, is gold. Today, in the world of AI and digital literacy, data is everything. It is shaping the way we understand the world. It is also helping a lot of governments gain a lot of favors, including resources and money from private entities who can't say they have enough data. Just to remind you, there have been instances in India where Aadhaar data have been leaked with Aadhaar, let's remember, is a biometric document. From your iris, from your fingerprints, Aadhaar has all details, and this is a document that has been imposed by the government to avail everything from pretty much accessing your bank account to getting your job under Narega, the Mahatma Gandhi Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. All of these places, Aadhaar has been made mandatory. You should remember one particular case where 500 rupees was enough and a WhatsApp contact was enough to access millions of people's Aadhaar details. That is the extent to which data and data protection has been reduced to a joke in this country. In 2022-23, if you remember, a simple telegram bot could spit out vaccination details, Aadhaar card details of citizens, PAN number, passport details of any Indian citizen if somebody just entered their mobile phone. The bot was powered by the same backend used by the official Co-win portal by the government of India. Digi Yatra, one big private company whose tool is being pushed by the government of India, especially in airports, has also seen its controversy when it comes to data protection. The paperless airport entry system, proudly marketed as a convenience feature, suffered a major breach in 2023-24 when its primary vendor, Data Evolve, was found to have exposed the facial biometrics, Aadhaar, and travel documents of over 3.3 million passengers. So data simply is not sacrosanct in India. And at that point in time, you are insisting that smartphones should have one app pushed by the government that can pretty much peep through every message of yours, can send messages on your behalf, alter and modify the data, the content in your USB drive. Imagine what this can be turned into in the wrong hands. And this is the concern that people are raising. Until I come back to you with yet another episode of State of Play, do stay tuned to South First. Thank you so much for watching.